right, so are you ready for this? We are diving into some fascinating research today.
Oh, I'm ready.
This is about semaglutide, the stuff that's been all over the news for weight management.
Yeah.
Well, get this. There's this new article from Neuroscience News, and it suggests
Uh,
that it might be able to help with something else entirely.
oh, wow.
Alcohol addiction. This is like brand new research, fresh from a clinical trial. So,
Hot off the press.
yeah, hot off the presses. I'm excited to unpack this.
It's pretty remarkable. A lot of people are talking about this. The big question is, can semaglutide,
Yeah.
which we already know helps with diabetes and obesity,
Yeah.
can it also help people
Right.
struggling with alcohol use disorder?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
This is.
So, before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Yeah, let's back up.
just a little recap. Yeah, just a quick reminder for anyone who might need it. So, semaglutide, what is it? It's a medication, right?
Yeah.
It's used to treat type 2 diabetes and obesity. And you might recognize the brand names Ozempic and Wegovy.
Exactly. And in this trial, they focused on adults with alcohol use disorder
Okay.
who weren't actively seeking treatment.
Interesting. So, they specifically targeted people who weren't already in some sort of program.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. And how many people were in this study?
So they had 48 participants divided into two groups.
Okay. Classic study design.
Classic.
So what did they do with these groups?
Well, one group received weekly semaglutide injections,
Okay.
and the other got a placebo.
Right. The standard setup.
Right.
But you know what caught my eye when I was reading this article? The drinking lab.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like something out of a movie.
It's pretty ingenious, actually.
What is that all about?
So it's a controlled environment
Okay.
where participants can drink their preferred alcoholic beverage.
So they got to choose what they
They got to choose them.
wanted to drink.
Exactly. And they did this both before and after
Okay.
the 9-week treatment period.
So researchers could see how their drinking behavior might have changed.
Precisely. It allows them to track how much alcohol they consumed and how their cravings may have shifted.
So like a before and after snapshot of their drinking habits.
Exactly.
I love that. They're really getting into the nitty-gritty here. But the big question is, did the semaglutide actually work? Like, did it make a difference?
Well, the results are pretty interesting. After the treatment, the group that got the semaglutide,
Yeah.
they actually ended up consuming less alcohol
Les.
in the lab setting compared to the placebo group.
Wow. So there's a measurable difference there.
There is. They also reported fewer cravings for alcohol.
That's huge.
It is.
We're talking about potentially helping people who are struggling with addiction.
Absolutely.
This is not just like a small tweak. This is like
That's
a potential game changer.
right. And it wasn't just the amount they drank either.
Really?
The study also found that the semaglutide group
Yeah.
had fewer days of heavy drinking.
So not only were they drinking less overall, but those like binge drinking episodes were less frequent too.
That's right. And here's what's really fascinating. The effect of semaglutide on drinking was even stronger than what they typically see with existing medications.
You mean the medications that are specifically?
Specifically designed for alcohol use disorder, yes.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is.
It's like this drug is exceeding
It
expectations.
seems that way.
But wait, there's more to this story.
There is.
What about the participants who smoked?
Ah, yes, there was an unexpected twist there.
Okay, I'm all ears.
A small group of smokers
Okay.
who were part of the study,
Yeah.
they showed a decrease in cigarette consumption.
Hold on, are we saying that this drug could potentially address multiple addictions?
It's too early to say for sure.
Okay.
But this unexpected finding hints that semaglutide might have broader applications in treating addiction.
This is mind-blowing.
It is. It makes you think about the future of addiction treatment.
Yeah, like, could we be moving toward a future where multiple addictions are treated with one medication?
It's a fascinating question. And what would that mean for healthcare? For insurance?
Whoa, yeah.
Even for personal responsibility?
Okay, I need a minute to process all of this. It's a lot to take in. Let's bring in our expert to help us break this down.
Sounds good.
Why are these findings so significant, especially compared to what's currently available for treating alcohol use disorder?
Well, as we've been talking about, the current medications for alcohol use disorder haven't really been widely adopted.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Semaglutide already has a lot of public awareness.
Because of its use in weight management.
Exactly. People know about it.
Right.
So you're thinking maybe people might be more open
Yes.
to using it for alcohol addiction because they're familiar with it.
Exactly.
And we can't ignore the urgent need for effective treatments.
Oh, absolutely not.
The impact of alcohol abuse is huge.
It is. It affects individuals, families, society as a whole.
Sadly, about 178,000 deaths every year in the U.S. are linked to alcohol.
That's a staggering number.
It is.
It really underscores the importance of this research.
It does. But we do need to remember this is still early research.
Right. We can't get ahead of ourselves.
It's crucial to be cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic. I like that.
We need larger, longer-term studies
Yes.
to really confirm these initial results.
We need to see what happens over time.
We do. And figure out the optimal dosage,
Right.
specifically for alcohol use disorder.
So while the potential is there, we need more data.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And it's not just about knowing if it works, but understanding how.
Oh, good point.
How does it actually affect the brain to reduce cravings?
Right. What's going on in there?
Exactly.
You mentioned some preclinical studies.
Yeah, there have been some.
That suggest changes in reward processing. Is that where the answer might lie?
These studies suggest that semaglutide impacts those reward pathways in the brain.
Okay.
Basically, it might dull the pleasurable feelings associated with alcohol.
Making it less appealing. So less reward, less desire to drink.
But of course, more research is needed to confirm this in humans.
Right, because these initial studies were done on
Animals.
Animals, right. So we've got to see if it translates.
Yes.
It feels like we're just scratching the surface here.
We are.
There's so much more to uncover. But let's shift gears for a moment. If semaglutide does prove to be effective in those larger trials, could this actually change the way we treat addiction?
Well, the idea of a more holistic approach to treating addiction
Yeah.
and related health issues is pretty exciting.
It is. We talked about how semaglutide is already used for obesity.
Yeah.
What if we had a single drug that effectively addressed both obesity and alcohol addiction?
It raises some really intriguing possibilities.
It does. We'd be talking about tackling two major public health issues
Yes,
with
sure.
one medication.
But what about the other side of that coin?
Oh, you mean like, are there any downsides?
Exactly. Are there concerns or risks with using semaglutide for this?
Right, because every drug has potential side effects, right?
With semaglutide, the most common side effects involve the gastrointestinal system.
Like nausea, vomiting, things like that.
Things like that, yeah.
Which makes sense if it's messing with your appetite and metabolism.
Exactly.
But we need those larger long-term studies
Yes.
to really get the full picture.
We need to know what happens over time, not just in a short period.
Right, and figure out the right dosage
Yeah.
to maximize the benefits without increasing the risks.
And then there's another thing to consider.
What's that?
The potential for misuse or abuse.
Oh, right. Because any drug that can change mood or behavior could
Exactly.
be misused.
So careful monitoring and regulation are really important.
Absolutely. We've got to make sure it's used responsibly.
And remember, medication is only one piece of the puzzle.
Right. It's not like a magic cure.
No.
Therapy, support groups, lifestyle changes.
Yes, all of that.
Those are all critical parts of a comprehensive treatment plan.
They are.
So it's not just about popping a pill and everything is magically fixed.
No, it's about a holistic approach.
This research is incredibly promising,
It is
but we need to be realistic.
realistic and cautious.
And remember that recovery is a journey, not a destination.
Well said.
This research opens up so many possibilities,
It does.
but it also raises some big ethical and societal questions.
It does. For example, if we have this drug that can treat obesity and alcohol addiction, how do we ensure everyone who needs it can access it?
That's a big one. We don't want to create a situation where only certain people
Exactly.
can afford this treatment.
It needs to be accessible to all.
It's a matter of fairness and social justice.
Absolutely. And we also need to consider the stigma.
Oh, that's a good point. The stigma associated with,
Taking a drug for both weight loss and addiction.
yeah, some people might feel ashamed or judged,
Am I?
like they're taking a shortcut or something.
We need to be sensitive to those concerns.
Absolutely.
We need to promote understanding and support.
Because addiction and obesity are complex issues, and there's no shame in seeking help.
We need to move away from this idea of a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
Everyone's journey is different.
I was just thinking about that analogy we used earlier.
About the fires.
Yeah. What if instead of just focusing on the fires,
Right.
we started paying more attention to the conditions that make them more likely to occur in the first place?
I like that. addressing the root causes.
And maybe this research on semaglutide is a step in that direction.
It's not just about finding a new drug.
Right.
It's about potentially changing our entire approach to healthcare.
To a more holistic and preventative model.
It's exciting to think about.
It is. We could see a reduction in chronic diseases, healthier communities.
Potentially even lower healthcare costs.
Wow, the ripple effects are huge.
It's just the beginning.
Right, we're just at the tip of the iceberg.
We need more research.
We need to be both enthusiastic and cautious.
I agree. We need to consider the ethical implications.
For sure.
Ensure it's used responsibly and fairly.
And have open discussions about the complexities of addiction.
This research has given us so much to think about.
It has. But before we get carried away, let's get back to the study itself.
Okay.
What are the key takeaways here?
All right, so we've seen that semaglutide, which is already used for diabetes and obesity,
Yeah.
shows promise in treating alcohol use disorder.
And the study participants who took semaglutide, they drank less,
Yes.
had fewer cravings, and fewer heavy drinking days.
Compared to those on the placebo.
Right, and those effects were even stronger than with existing medications.
Specifically for alcohol use disorder, yes.
That's incredible.
It is.
And then there was that interesting finding about smokers,
Yeah, that was unexpected,
that some of them reduced their cigarette consumption while taking semaglutide.
which suggests it might have potential for other addictions too.
Okay, so lots of potential benefits.
Oh, that's
But let's not forget about the potential risks and challenges.
like the side effects.
Right, those gastrointestinal issues.
And the fact that this is still early research.
So we need those larger studies to really know for sure.
Exactly. And we have to be mindful of the potential for misuse.
Because as with any drug, there's always that risk.
And remember, medication is only part of the solution.
It's not a quick fix.
Therapy, support groups, lifestyle changes are all important.
So it's about a holistic approach, not just relying on a pill.
Exactly.
We need to approach this research with a balanced perspective.
Balanced and informed.
Be excited about the possibilities, but also cautious about the potential downsides.
Agreed. Open and honest conversations are key.
About the ethical implications, about access to treatment, about all of it.
Well said.
This research has been a fascinating journey so far.
It has.
And it's just the beginning.
If you want to learn more, check out the full article on Neuroscience News.
We'll be sure to include a link in the show notes.
And until next time, keep exploring.
And keep asking questions.
Exactly. But before you do that,
Yeah.
we want to leave you with something to really think about.
Okay, hit me.
Imagine a world where
Yeah.
a single medication
Uh-huh.
could address both obesity and alcohol addiction.
That's a big one, isn't it?
It is.
It could really change the way we approach healthcare.
It could. Instead of treating things separately,
Yeah.
we could start to see those connections.
Like a more integrated approach, recognizing that our physical and mental health are linked.
Exactly.
It's not just about treating symptoms in isolation.
It's about seeing the whole picture.
It's about the whole person.
Yes.
I love that.
And think about how we treat addiction now.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess, isn't it?
Separate medications for different addictions.
And even then, access is a huge issue.
It is. A lot of people can't afford the treatments they need.
It's like we're trying to put out all these separate fires instead of figuring out how to prevent them.
I see what you're saying.
But a drug like semaglutide, if it works,
Yeah.
could offer a more preventative approach.
Getting to the root of the problem.
Addressing those underlying mechanisms that contribute to both obesity and addiction.
That's a really interesting way to think about it.
It's like we're shifting from reaction to prevention.
Exactly.
And the potential ripple effects are huge.
They are. Obesity is a risk factor for so many other problems.
Heart disease, stroke, diabetes, even some cancers.
If we can manage obesity effectively,
Yeah.
we're not just reducing those risks.
We're improving overall health.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Longer, healthier lives.
And if we can address alcohol addiction at the same time,
Yeah.
the impact could be even more significant.
It could. Healthcare systems could be less burdened.
That's a big one. Less strain on resources.
Exactly.
It all hinges on further research, though.
We need more studies.
Longer-term studies.
Yes, to confirm these initial findings.
And to fully understand the benefits and the risks.
Right. We need to be thorough.
But if this pans out, it could be a real game changer.
It could, but we need to be prepared
For what?
for the challenges that come with it.
Like what?
Well, if a drug like semaglutide becomes widely available, how do we make sure everyone who needs it can get it?
Access is crucial, you're right.
We've seen it before.
Yeah.
New treatments come out,
Yeah.
and only the wealthy can afford them.
We can't let that happen with something like this.
It has the potential to help so many people.
It's about social justice. It's about equity.
Everyone deserves a chance to benefit from medical advancements.
Regardless of their income or background.
Exactly.
But it's not just about access and affordability.
What else?
We've got to think about the stigma, too.
The stigma.
Yeah, the stigma around taking a drug for both weight loss and addiction.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Some people might feel embarrassed or ashamed,
It might feel judged.
like they're taking the easy way out.
We need to be sensitive to those feelings.
Absolutely.
We need to create a culture of understanding and support.
Because addiction and obesity are not easy things to deal with.
They're complex health challenges.
And there's no shame in getting help.
We need to shift away from that one-size-fits-all mentality.
Oh. Yeah, recognize that everyone's journey is different.
Exactly.
Remember that analogy we were talking about?
About putting out fires.
Yeah, what if instead of just focusing on the fires,
Right.
we start looking at what's causing them in the first place?
Addressing the root causes.
Maybe this research on semaglutide is a push in that direction.
It could be.
It's not just about treating addiction.
It's about a more fundamental shift in healthcare.
Towards a more holistic, preventative model.
Thinking about the whole person, not just individual symptoms.
I love that. It's like we're evolving our approach to medicine.
It's an evolution.
And the potential benefits are enormous.
Reduction in chronic diseases, healthier communities, potentially lower healthcare costs.
It's a whole new way of thinking about health and well-being.
But we need to be realistic.
Of course, it's early days.
We have a long way to go.
More research is needed.
Absolutely. We need to understand the long-term effects.
Figure out the optimal dosages.
And make sure we're managing any potential risks.
And we can't forget about the ethical implications.
Very important.
We need to make sure this is used responsibly and fairly, and we need to have open conversations about everything.
About the science, about the ethics, about the societal impact.
This is a big deal, folks.
It is.
This research has given us a lot to chew on.
It has. But let's bring it back to the study for a moment.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's recap the key takeaways.
Perfect. Give us the highlights.
All right, so semaglutide, which is already used for diabetes and obesity,
Yep.
shows promise in treating alcohol use disorder.
That's what we've learned so far.
Participants taking semaglutide,
Yeah.
they drank less alcohol.
Less alcohol, fewer cravings.
And fewer heavy drinking days.
Compared to those who got the placebo.
Exactly. And those effects, they were
Yeah.
even stronger than what we typically see with the existing medications.
That's a big deal.
And then there's that intriguing observation about the smokers.
Oh, yeah, the smokers. What was that about again?
Some of them reduced their cigarette consumption while taking semaglutide.
So there might be potential for other addictions, too?
It's possible.
Okay, so lots of potential upsides.
But we have to acknowledge the potential risks, too.
Like the side effects.
The gastrointestinal issues.
And the fact that this research is preliminary.
We need more studies.
We need to be cautious.
We need to be aware of the potential for misuse.
Because any drug that can affect mood and behavior can be misused.
That's right. And it's important to remember that medication is only one part of treating addiction.
Therapy, support groups, lifestyle changes, it's all connected.
It's a multifaceted approach.
This research is promising, no doubt.
It is. But we need a balanced perspective.
Excitement tempered with caution.
Open and honest conversations are crucial.
About the ethics, about access, about everything.
This research has been a fascinating journey so far.
It has. And it's just the beginning.
If you're interested in learning more, check out the full article on Neuroscience News.
We'll include the link in the show notes.
And until next time, keep exploring.
And keep asking those tough questions.
Absolutely.
All right, so as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a question.
Okay.
What if we actually do have a drug
Yeah.
that can effectively address both obesity and alcohol addiction?
Interesting.
What could the implications be?
Well, I think it could lead to a much more integrated approach to healthcare,
Okay, yeah.
where we're not just treating these separate conditions in isolation, but looking at that connection.
Recognizing that our physical health and our mental health
Exactly.
are really intertwined. It's like instead of just putting out those separate fires, we're
Right.
actually trying to prevent them from happening in the first place.
I like that.
And semaglutide, if it really works,
If it delivers on its promise.
yeah, it could be a catalyst
Yeah.
for that kind of shift.
It could. It could help us move away from just reacting to problems
Yeah.
and start being more proactive.
More preventative.
Preventative, yeah.
And I think the ripple effects of that could be huge,
They could.
not just for individuals,
Right.
but for society as a whole.
We could see a reduction in chronic diseases, healthier communities.
Potentially even lower healthcare costs down the line.
It's a big picture idea.
It is. But of course, it's important to remember
Yeah.
we're still in the early stages here.
Early days, yeah.
There's still a lot more research to be done.
A lot more to learn.
We need to understand those long-term effects.
Absolutely.
Figure out the best dosages for different situations.
And make sure we're managing those potential risks.
We don't want to create new problems while we're trying to solve old ones.
Right.
And of course, there are ethical implications to consider as well.
Oh, absolutely.
We need to make sure this is accessible to everyone.
Equity is key.
That it's used responsibly.
And that we're having those open and honest conversations.
About all of it.
All the complexities.
Yeah, the science, the ethics, the impact on society.
It's a big conversation.
It is. This research on semaglutide, it's like opening a door to a whole new world. It's exciting, but it also comes with a lot of responsibility.
Responsibility to use it wisely.
To be thoughtful, to be careful.
Consider all the angles.
It's a delicate balance.
It is. But it's a balance we need to find.
Because the potential here is enormous.
It is.
If we can harness it correctly.
It could really change things for the better.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive.
Our exploration.
Into the fascinating world of semaglutide.
And its potential to transform the way we deal with obesity and alcohol addiction.
We hope you found this journey as intriguing as we have.
We did.
If you want to learn more,
yeah, definitely check out the full article on Neuroscience News.
We'll put a link in the show notes for you.
And until next time, keep asking questions.
Keep exploring.
And keep diving deep.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.